Around our isles we have some of the most stunning coastlines. Coastlines that are diverse, dynamic, ever-changing. But our coastlines are facing a new challenge from the sea. Rising sea levels and more storms are quickening the pace of change around our shores. The National Trust, in its role as guardian of 775 miles of our coastline, has a unique approach to our shifting shores. 10 years ago, the Trust launched its Shifting Shores report. Now I'm back to find out what we've learned and how we're preparing to care for our beautiful coastlines into the future. The message then was one of adaptation in response to climate change. Is that still the message now?
It is. The key message coming from this work is that we can no longer rely on building our way out of trouble at the coast, and we need to think about adapting to change. So adaptation is about identifying what the risks are and moving away from those risks. So if you take an example like Burling Gap in Sussex, a very soft cliff there, it's eroding at about ½ a metre a year. What we're trying to do there, rather than build a solid concrete sea defence at the base, which would be counterproductive, is actually to move the buildings back over time and roll back out of the risk zone.
What's prompted the National Trust to revisit the Shifting Shores initiative?
So I think 10 years on, there's a real sense of urgency. We need to embrace different ways of approaching coastal change management, and particularly if we're going to avoid storing up problems for future generations, we really need to grasp the nettle now. There was that winter of storms a couple of years ago, and that was a real wake-up call for the whole society, I think, about the impacts of severe weather at the coast and warning for the future.
GreenTV in St.Ives Bay is a jewel in the coastal crown of Cornwall. But there are pressures on this special place too. The dramatic recent storms have threatened access to GreenTV Beach. What are you doing to keep that beach accessible?
Well, it's a really tricky problem. These storms are easily capable of taking many metres of cliff out just overnight. It's a very beautiful site, it's very popular, it's got lots of wildlife interest, so we want to maintain access. We feel that's very important, so that gives us difficult choices, perhaps taking a road back inland through the dunes, relocating the car park to a less sensitive area so that we can continue to allow people to come to GreenTV and enjoy it as they have for decades.
Almost 100 years ago, Lady Londonderry created these extraordinary gardens here at Mount Stewart in Northern Ireland. To protect her jewel of a garden, she established a sea plantation down on the shores of the loch. Frost was a rarity, and in the garden's sheltered microclimate, exotic plants and trees flourished.
The special nature of this landscape means that we can grow things this far north that are just exceptional, but ultimately sea level rise is going to cause us major problems here. The salinity of the groundwater in particular is what is really putting these gardens at risk. And one of the things that we've just recently done is secure a further 900 acres behind Mount Stewart House and Gardens so that we still have access no matter what happens to Strangford Lough and the roadway.
I think if we can work with the grain of nature, harnessing natural processes to provide natural sea defences, in fact, we stand a very good chance of actually being able to create great wildlife habitat for the future, but also great places at the coast that people can continue to go and enjoy.
The National Trust's far-reaching vision for Freshwater West is breathing new life into one of Wales's most precious and beautiful stretches of coastline. What are you doing at Freshwater West to extend and restore the reed beds, the fen meadows and the dune grasslands?
The dune grasslands in particular, we've taken about 100 acres out of active farming. We're reverting them and we're allowing nature to take its course. With regards to the fen meadows and the reed beds, we're getting the land around them in best condition to make sure that over the coming years, with the gradual increases in water level and incursions of the sea, they'll be fit to accommodate the richest flora possible.
People have been making their mark here at Formby for thousands of years. But now, human prints on this especially dynamic shore are being overwhelmed by the Earth's natural forces. In managing this shoreline, how important is it to work with partners?
it's really important that actually we all work together as a whole to manage these areas. And that's true, I think, of any coast anywhere. The coast is continuous. A really good example is the fact that although we're eroding here at Formby, further north, that's where all the sand that gets taken from us gets deposited. It's actually growing out there from the sand that comes from Formby, and there's actually a little baby salt marsh, a little baby dune system that's forming because of the sand from here. But if we do something here that's going to affect that movement of sand, then we're having a huge impact on incredibly important habitats further north.
To what extent are you speaking for all of us who care about our shores?
I think we are very much trying to look at doing things in a different way, basing our ideas on adaptation. That's something that wider society needs to get around and embrace as well. So I think we can use the Trust's work as showing innovation to sort of pioneer new ways to approach coastal management for the future.
Around our beautiful and dramatic coasts, powerful changes are underway. The National Trust, through its Shifting Shores work, is promoting the idea that we adapt to those changes in a way that works both for people and for places.